The Master's Test. The training hall was silent, save for the rhythmic creak of wooden floorboards beneath their feet. Master Ip Man stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his gaze calm but watchful. Across from him, a young Bruce Lee, barely in his 20s, burned with anticipation. "Show me," Ip Man said simply. Bruce's lips curled into a smirk. He had spent years perfecting his speed, his reflexes as sharp as lightning. Now, before the legendary Wing Chun master, he had a chance to prove himself. With a flicker of motion, Bruce struck out, too fast for the untrained eye to follow. His fist stopped an inch from Ip Man's face, a mere whisper of wind brushing against the master's cheek. But Ip Man had not moved. Bruce stepped back, his brow furrowing. Again, he attacked, a series of rapid punches, each one a blur. Yet each time, Ip Man either shifted effortlessly or remained still, as if anticipating every movement before it happened. Frustration flickered in Bruce's eyes. He was fast, perhaps the fastest of his generation, but speed alone was not enough. "Fast," Ip Man finally said, his voice even. "But speed without discipline is like a river with no banks. It may flow swiftly, but it has no direction." Bruce exhaled sharply, nodding in understanding. Again, Ip Man instructed. This time Bruce didn't rely solely on his speed. He observed, he adjusted, and with each exchange, the master and student danced in a silent rhythm. A battle not of brute force, but of skill, wisdom, and control. As the sun set over the training hall, Bruce Lee bowed deeply. He had come to prove himself, but instead, he had learned a lesson far greater than he expected. And so, the legend of the dragon began, the Master's Test. The wooden training hall echoed with the faint creak of floorboards as Bruce Lee took his stance. His breath was steady, his eyes locked onto the legendary figure before him, Ip Man, the Grandmaster of Wing Chun. The air between them was thick with unspoken challenge. Bruce had trained tirelessly, pushing his body beyond its limits. He had fought countless opponents, dazzling them with his unmatched speed. But this was different. This was not just another fight. This was a test before the man who had shaped an entire generation of martial artists. Ip Man stood still, his hands clasped behind his back, his expression unreadable. He had seen many young fighters rise with arrogance, believing speed and strength alone made them invincible. But true mastery was something deeper. "Show me," Ip Man said simply. Bruce smirked, confidence radiating from him. He had always admired Ip Man, but today he was here to prove that he had surpassed all expectations. In a flash, he moved. His fist shot forward like a bullet, direct, precise, unstoppable. The air around his knuckles seemed to ripple from the sheer force of his speed. Yet, as quickly as the strike came, Ip Man remained unmoved. Bruce barely had time to process before he launched another attack. A flurry of rapid punches filled the space between them, his hands moving so fast they blurred. It was a demonstration of pure, raw talent, honed through years of relentless training. Yet, despite the overwhelming speed, Ip Man merely shifted, weaving through the strikes with an effortless grace that defied reason. It was as if he had already predicted every movement before it happened. Bruce took a step back, his heart pounding. No one had ever evaded him like this before. "Fast," Ip Man finally said, his voice calm. "But speed alone is not enough." Bruce's confidence wavered for the first time. His entire philosophy had been built on speed, agility, and the ability to strike before his opponent could react. But here he was, facing a man who made his fastest punches seem meaningless. "Speed is a tool," Ip Man continued, taking a single step forward. But without control, it is like a river with no banks, wild, undirected, wasted. Bruce clenched his fists, determination flashing in his eyes. He had come here to prove himself, but now he realized this was more than a test. It was a lesson. Again, Ip Man instructed. Bruce inhaled deeply, resetting his stance. This time, he didn't just attack blindly. He watched, he observed, he adjusted. His strikes became sharper, more controlled. He moved not just with speed, but with intent. And then, for the first time, Ip Man smiled. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the training hall, Bruce bowed deeply. He had come as a challenger, but he was leaving as a student. The dragon had begun his journey, not just as a fighter, but as a master in the making.